I think I might have put this one down too, but I don't remember it fully. How do I help my kid overcome weird idiosyncrasies? So how do we get Jebediah to
I
not try to be a 64-year-old bald man?
I put this down actually,
Yeah,
and it's
what does
because
it
of
mean?
Jebediah.
And what does it mean?
So just some weird things that are completely irrational is what I'm getting at, because I would
Is
love to
he
hear your guys' advice.
is he like
He
skinning squirrels alive or something? Or
he hates buttons. Just on shirts. He absolutely loathes them. So on Sunday, I'm wearing, my normal button-up shirt on Sunday, and he asks for some milk. I get him his milk. He sees I'm wearing buttons. He throws a tantrum, won't accept the milk because I was wearing buttons. Like,
Sounds like a touch
I
of autism.
don't even know how to even begin to break that down. Or he
How
refuses
old
to
is
hug
he?
people. He's 5. He refuses to hug people if they're wearing buttons, and it's so weird. I don't even.
So
I don't.
when he was 3, how long was he out of your presence and care? Because it sounds like somebody tortured him with some buttons and you just didn't know it, man. He's got some deep psychological scars there, my friend.
Yeah, Kelsey, what are you doing that I don't know about?
Buttons hurt his feel. I mean, that's a quote. But so I don't know that we can help you with this, man. Because that's not what I was thinking with idiosyncrasies. But
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, let's work on some of this. Let's talk it out. So tell me more about buttons hurt his feelings, because that sounds like a direct quote.
Yes, no, he has told us that buttons hurt his feelings, and like if my in-laws, if his grandparents come up and try to hug him, and he sees they've got buttons, he will slam doors in their face and lock it so that they can't get to him, and he hates.
Does he have
buttons.
a hard time buttoning things up himself?
He never buttons things himself. We always button stuff up for him.
No, but I wonder. Again, I don't know,
Honestly,
because it's a weird one. But
In general, when your kids are being irrational, what do you do? What are some tactics?
Well, you're asking what I did, not what I recommend. So I'm being very clear about this. Okay. Every time is different. Now, honestly, my take on his hate of buttons is somebody or something settled in his psyche wrong. Like somebody that he felt weird about, like his instincts were off, and he's young. You don't know how to express instincts. They were trying to hug him. He internalized. He felt really bad about that moment, and the buttons are what landed. So that's something you can work on as he gets older. You can process. Maybe the other thing is
Kind of like people that have those food memories where they eat something once and it made them sick, and so they never want to eat it again because just thinking about it brings that bad memory.
Of course, at 5, it's like our America's daddy, Stephen Adams, says, "I know you got big feelings, bud." You can't really express it. The other thing I think of, like from my own childhood, looking back, is if it were for me, if it were buttons, it would be somebody I didn't want hugging me, hugged me, and it hurt. And because I felt awkward and didn't want it, and it hurt, buttons hurt my feelings. I felt, I don't know. He's 5. It's hard to say. You'll have to work through it. But what I did for my daughter, she was 5, I want to say, about the same age. And me and her older brother were playing House of the Dead on the Switch, which is a zombie shooting game. And not the Switch, I'm sorry, on the Wii. It was on the Wii. So, not realistic graphics. It's Nintendo. They don't do realistic graphics anyway. But we're doing to have a light gun holder, so you put the little Wii controller in it. It's now a light gun, and we're doing. And she's like, I felt like she wanted to be afraid of something. Like, no, she wouldn't. If anything was maybe scary. Now we also had a rule in our house. You can have your feelings. Like if it's scary, we're not gonna make you watch it. We'll help you say, hey, cover your eyes. You're not gonna like it. But in this case, she was just being irrational, like you said, Joe. And I said, here's the deal. You have to hold this gun. You have to shoot at least 3 of them. After that, you never have to do anything again. And she's like, no. I was like, no. This is a dad moment. You don't get to tell me no. We're going to do it together. And if you never want to do it again, you never have to. She shot and I helped her, aim and everything. And I was like, we're going to shoot it in the head. And she shot it and it dropped. And the second one's coming at her. And then she shot it, and then I took my hands off, and she shot the next one, and the next one, and then all of a sudden it went from this irrational fear because whatever reason, I mean, she's 5. You can't really connect the dots here, but it went to triggering of leaning to the words later I use in life, lean into your power, lean into what makes you feel strong. And it was just it became her favorite game. Like she would always want to play it with me, and that's what I did. And I say I don't necessarily recommend it because it is different for every kid. You can't just you could. I don't know what results you would get if you forced Jebediah into a full tub of buttons, But in the game with the fear, it was set numbers. 1, 2, 3, you're done. You're done. And then you can be free. And then she found the strength. And it was fine. I don't know.
Yeah. Have you asked further questions about that?
We've tried, but it's always some variation of they hurt his feelings.
Because the only thing I can think of, and again, I have no idea, but it could be that literally he got hugged by somebody and a button dug into him.
It could be,
it's something like that. Yeah, I mean, most of the time, kids will grow out of it. The thing to keep an eye on is whether or not it's indicative of something like an OCD type thing.
That's it too. At this age, I was kind of joking with said touch of autism, but I fully believe as humans we are all on spectrum somewhere, and we all have to a certain extent. I'm seeing more and more people start to realize, like, hey, you don't. When I say hear voices, I don't mean like schizophrenia. I mean you're talking to yourself all the time. You don't hear a narrative. You don't hear this. You don't visual. Not everybody visual.
Yeah, not everyone has an inner voice.
Exactly.
Right.
Picture a barking dog. Not everybody. So, I think there's a lot of us that have something that would be. There's no such thing as normal. There are statistical norms, which is based on math, which changes constantly as we get new information. But it is possible that he might have some indicators of OCD. He might have some indicators of autism or something else. It could be that his brain just doesn't like buttons. But you won't really know for the next couple of years. But I am not a professional in helping anybody in this vein. I just want to be very clear now. I've worked around it. I've talked to some people. I've learned some things as an amateur on my own doing just research. So this is not professional advice, but I can say possibly what I've seen be effective is essentially a feel-good bribery situation. Like, hey, bud, we'll give you an hour on the Switch later on when everybody leaves if you'll let Grandma Margaret hug you right now. You don't force them into it. You let them still have the agency of choice, but you find that reward that says, hey, if you will help us, we'll help you. And who knows? And he still can say no, right? Because until you figure it out, the forcing of yes is usually a backfireable thing that happens.
Yeah, because even tonight, his older brother his shirt had 3 buttons up at the top, and so he went to hug him, not even thinking about it, and Jebediah just bolted. He's like, "Nope, I'm out of here."
No, I'm sorry. So all I was going to say is it could be that, in as he gets a little bit older, he may be able to express why better.
Yeah,
honestly,
that could be.
Part of it can just be it could just be a 5-year-old testing his limits. I mean, if you're, I don't know. There's definitely this is the way it is, but one possibility could be if you're not like the milk thing is very rational. He wouldn't accept the milk. If you're asking me again, I'm a different kind of father. And I told him, suck it up, Buttercup. Here's your milk, and you better drink it. Buttons or not. That's me.
That's basically what I said. And he refused. And then my wife went and grabbed it and handed it to him. Say milk. But he drank it after that. Or maybe he refused to drink it and she had to go pretend she got a different cup or something. I can't remember.
So, okay, there is this. Kelsey says Jebediah did end up side hugging them to avoid the buttons.
Oh, yeah, his older brother tonight. Well, and in the past,
if it is a real problem, he's still going to have to live in a world of buttons, so you got to help him navigate that too.
Yeah. And in the past, he's made my in-laws, his grandparents, cover their buttons up with a blanket, and then he would hug them. stuff like that.
Honestly, start looking up some YouTube videos, do some basic reading. 'Cause with that kind of coping mechanism, 30 years medic, getting not an expert on autism or CD, but these are starting to have some psychological signs with that kind of coping mechanism that there might be something in his brain that he can express that is latching on that's bad. And it might not even be a traumatic offense. But if you do some research, you might start seeing some signs. Go ahead, Kurt.
How does he feel about belly buttons?
Oh no! I don't know if you meant to be funny. I think you did. And you landed
Yeah, I
landed
did.
it hard.
So far,
That
it's
was
been
good.
close buttons, and my in-laws have a throw pillow that has a couple of buttons on it, and he does not like those either.
What if you take him on an elevator? Does he not hit
No,
those buttons?
I was just going to ask about the elevator,
okay.
and that was a serious question.
Oh no, he likes pushing the buttons on the elevator.
Interesting. So it's really kind of like the button and eye buttons, the clothing type buttons.
Yes. Yep.
How about snaps?
We don't have very many things with snaps, so I don't know.
There's definitely a lot of questions here. And Kelsey posted.
It's just so random. It's been like a year that he's been hating on buttons, and so I figured it'd be a good discussion to bring up.
It is. It really is. You got me and Kurt talking and thinking, and I'm sure there's people at home. Hey, email us, wnnshow@gmail.com with your input. Do that. We'd love to have that. Okay.
So there actually is a documented phobia of buttons called compoundophobia, and it's a documented fear of buttons.
Interesting.
Now I don't know if he's got that,
right.
Because he's not afraid of them.
He just hates them.
He hates them.
He loathes them entirely.
I mean, aside from everywhere else we went, Kurt might be right. It might just be a thing. When Ryland, my middle son, I don't remember the age, between 4 and 7, for a year or two, he's the only kid that named his imaginary friend, and he had an imaginary friend, and the friend's name was Ander. Ander, Ander. And he would say things that my wife and I would look at each other kind of half joking, and I'm like, is he seeing a ghost? Because the way he told the story is like, this is like the beginning of a horror film sometimes. Like, he's talking, but it was just a kid thing, right? It was this and that and the other. But then one day, we noticed he wasn't talking about Ander anymore. It's like, why? Hey, buddy, where's your friend Ander? And he's like, we didn't know what to do, and he does not remember it to this day. He doesn't remember this. He's like, he made me mad. I was like, what do you mean, buddy? He made you mad? It's like, he made me mad, and I pushed him, I stomped him, and then Andrew went away, and made my wife like,
he killed his imaginary friend.
That's possibly the best ending to a haunted Halloween horror story that you can get out of this. So we'll just kind of watch for other psychotic behavior.
The ghost wasn't the villain. The little kid was the entire time.
The entire time, yeah. I know. So perhaps someday Little Jeb will come out with why is it, I see Kurt still fading into the bushes. Little Jeb will come out with
Kurt's our imaginary friend.
Right. Little Jeb will come out with a wise and nerdy button-up Hawaiian shirt in honor of his inspiration, Kurt, old man 64. And then you're like, I guess he's over buttons now. Yeah.
Hopefully.
John. Okay, no. I don't care if you have a peanut allergy, you're going to eat your peanut butter. That is not at all where we're going with this.